Well, the release of Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi and her election to Parliament has fuelled hopes of a Burmese spring and led to calls for a lifting of the international sanctions on Burma's military regime. Both Australia and the United States have eased sanctions and the European Union has suspended them. Yet as many as 500 prisoners of conscience are still in jail, even as the Burmese junta is lauded for its reforms. Southeast Asia correspondent Zoe Daniel reports from Rangoon.
It's been a long wait for Nei Chi. Her brother, the eldest in the family and the primary breadwinner, was taken away by police in 2009.
He's the eldest in the family and I feel so sad about what has happened to him. We have no one to rely on since this happened to us.
Like many arrested for political offences, Nei Chi's brother was taken away in the dead of night. Accused of terrorism for allegedly rigging an explosive device, he was tried in a closed court and jailed.
We do not know where he was taken. We do not hear any news from him and we do not know where to trace him.
Amin Pyo apparently admitted to the charge, but forced confessions are common among those arrested for political offences in Burma. Evidence is often fabricated. Nei Chi doesn't believe her brother is guilty. And when the government began releasing prisoners as part of the reform process, she expected him to come home. Others jailed with him for the same offence walked free, but her brother didn't. The Burmese government mostly denies that it's jailed people for their political beliefs. But at its worst, human rights organisations estimate it was holding as many as 2,000 political prisoners. Many were initially taken here, to the notorious insane prison on the outskirts of Rangoon. When the reform process began, the international community demanded that the government release them as a symbol of its sincerity, and to a degree it complied. All high-profile prisoners have now been freed. The government says those that haven't may not be prisoners of conscience, but criminals.
There may be some people from the political background in the prisons, so there may be considerations from the authorities for the releasing of some prisoners. But
are you holding them deliberately as a bargaining chip? Are you keeping them in the prison on purpose?
Actually, I don't think that they are not used as a political bargaining chips, but actually, we are very difficult to verify who is the political prisoner, who is the terrorist, or who is the connections with the international terrorist organizations or like that.
Among those recently released is Coco G, a member of the famed 88 generation of students who ran mass protests that were violently halted by the military 2 decades ago. He spent 18 years in jail before he was released on the 13th of January this year. Now he's advocating for those left behind.
We cannot forget all the remaining political prisoners. Even only one political prisoner is remaining. This is the political issue.
Nei Chi is here to try to get help and advocacy for her brother. She's joined by Lele Win, whose husband, a well-known human rights activist, has been jailed multiple times and was last arrested and jailed for helping victims of Cyclone Nargis in 2008. Yutong Sain's son was jailed in 1999 and given a sentence of 59 years in prison.
We want him to live together with us, as all parents wish, and I am suffering distress that I cannot describe.
Recent mass releases have been devastating for those whose family members have not emerged from the prison gates, and there's no way of knowing when those still inside will be allowed out.
We are happy to see people being released, but on January 13, my wife and I really suffered and collapsed because of this. But we are trying to be strong. And also my son said, "Dad, I would also like to be with you, but I believe what I did was right."
Many of those who've spent time in prison for political activity have been journalists, jailed for political comment, judged to be anti-government or capable of inciting unrest. Now released, many are working again in an environment of relative freedom.
They can now play a role that they've never been able to freely perform, reporting and commenting on political issues in the public interest. Prominent journalist and former political prisoner Mongwon Ta is one of those doing just that. Freed himself, he's been able to advocate for the remaining political prisoners in the press.
After the second release, the people criticised the government that the government they didn't keep their promise that to release all political prisoners, and so the public. I was listening to the reaction of the public, and then I wrote 1 or 2 articles about the presidential decision, and I criticized even the president.
The public or ordinary people have right to seek and get the information they want, because like the election. So if the ordinary people decided to vote, he needs a lot of information from diverse sources on how to make his decision. So that's another right for the people. So that's what we are trying to do, is to make, not only allow the media to have the freedom of expression. So what we are trying to do is, the people have the chance to seek the information from the different sources.
Over the years, thousands of people have been arrested and jailed in Burma during the struggle for democracy. As progress seems to finally take hold, their families won't forget those who are still in jail for what they've done.
Please, could I add one more thing? My son did the same as many others for democracy. He's not a criminal. And as parents, we also believe that what our son did was right.
They're asking that the world remembers them too.
Zoe Daniel reporting from Rangoon.